A big change is taking place at the southern border this week, which shifts how the U.S. handles those trying to claim asylum. So how are officials planning to manage the expected influx, and what issues are complicating those efforts?
Title 42 is our big story today.
Thursday, May 11th is the day the federal pandemic emergency measures will expire across the U.S.
That includes Title 42. That's the policy that was put in place by the Trump administration. It allows the government to expel those entering the U.S. to seek asylum back over the southern border. That was in order to prevent the spread of COVID.
But when the Title 42 expires, the country will no longer be able to send asylum seekers back over the border. Instead, those seeking asylum will be able to stay here while their claim gets processed.
And U.S. Customs and Border Protection officials say they've already seen an uptick in migrants attempting to cross the southern border. At the end of April, about 7,000 migrants were encountered every single day. Officials are already expecting that number to rise after Title 42 expires. Along the border, U.S. officials are expecting a surge of migrants, and lawmakers from both parties say border authorities do not have the resources needed to deal with the increase.
But having a border-only approach to immigration doesn't work. We need a comprehensive plan from Congress.
This is a conscious decision by the Biden administration to take a tool out of the toolbox that's been very effective, and it's going to lead to holy hell.
The Biden administration says people who cross the border illegally will be turned away and could potentially be barred from re-entering the country for 5 years.
Thousands of migrants are gathering at the U.S.-Mexico border ahead of Thursday's expiration of Title 42. Border Control says misinformation is causing many migrants to think they'll be able to walk right into the U.S., which is not accurate. Rafael Romo has more.
Jofre Perez says his plan is to press on all the way to the border and beyond. He wants his own American dream. The Venezuelan migrant has already made it as far as Mexico, and returning home, he says, is not an option.
We're
already here and we can't go back, Perez says. We have to press on as far as we can get, as far as they let us get. As many other migrants waiting in Mexico for an opportunity to cross into the United States, legally or illegally, Perez is driven by hope and determination, but confused by the rampant misinformation about what's happening at the southern U.S. border. Migrants like Perez are part of an expected surge prompted by the fact that Title 42, the Trump-era policy that allowed border authorities to quickly turn away certain migrants during the COVID-19 pandemic, is expiring on May 11th. Migrants like Glenda Sarmienta, who comes from Honduras, say there are many doubts in the migrant community because she's heard that the end of Title 42 means that she will be able to enter the country, while other people have told her that it will make it even more difficult to seek asylum. U.S. officials, especially Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas, have been clear about the fact that the border will remain sealed.
The border is not open, it has not been open, and it will not be open subsequent to May 11th. And the smugglers who exploit vulnerable migrants are spreading misinformation. They are spreading false information, lies, in a way to lure vulnerable people to the southern border, and those individuals will only be returned.
Encounters between U.S. border agents and undocumented immigrants had fallen earlier this year, but have recently increased to the current level of about 7,000 per day. Migrants like Elton Rojas from Venezuela say they don't care if Title 42 comes to an end or not. Rojas says he's determined not to live in what he considers a dictatorship and is willing to take as many risks as necessary for a taste of freedom. Rafael Romo, CNN, Atlanta.
One of the concerns when it comes to a potential surge of migrants is resources for those arriving at or around the border are already strained. The border town of El Paso, Texas, where about 2,300 migrants are sleeping on the streets or in shelters, has already declared a state of emergency. Leaders in El Paso say they're trying to prepare, but they're expecting some big challenges in the coming days.
But in all honesty, I don't believe that no matter how much we are prepared, I don't think we're going to be prepared enough. My biggest concern right now is shelter capacity. We just need to have significant bed space, probably between 1,500 and 2,000. And currently we're working with about 500, just to put that into perspective.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott has sent the Texas National Guard to El Paso and other towns along the border to prevent illegal crossings.
Here in Toledo, there are hundreds of families that have been affected for more than 3 years by border restrictions.
13 ABC's Ethan Watts spoke with someone who works with those families every day. He joins us live.
Tina, Tony, I had a chance to sit down and talk to Linda Parra, who founded Nuestra Gente, or Our People, back in 2008. Now, the nonprofit's goal is to improve the lives of Toledo's underserved communities. One of those is the Hispanic Latino community. Parra told me that the group has helped serve nearly 600 families over the past 15 years. But the past few have been the hardest because of the pandemic. Everything from setting up doctor's appointments, finding rides, and even providing basic needs like food became an everyday challenge. But when I asked her about Title 42, she had mixed feelings. She said she understands why it was put into place, but it did cause some worries for the families that she works with. As for the thoughts on the restrictions ending, for Parra, her focus is more on resources.
I don't think Title 42 needs to go away. I think that migrants need more opportunities to get in this country, and like I said before, to contribute to this country. So let's give it to them the opportunity to contribute to this country, to have a better opportunities as a human rights beings.
As for what happens next, Linda says she thinks there will be an increase of migrants seeking places to stay after Thursday. With southern states having more strict migration policies, she says cities like Toledo, they're going to rise to the call and help anyone who is in need of resources and shelter.
And as we talk about that need, is Nuestra Gente or any other organization that caters to the Hispanic community making preparations for those migrants right now, Ethan?
Yeah, absolutely, Tina. Linda told us that they are expecting an influx of migrants from Mexico and Venezuela. Their main focus right now is housing, whether that's finding housing through local organizations or even getting groups together and renovating to make places to stay.
All right, Ethan Watts reporting live this afternoon. Thank you.
A vote is set to take place this week on a bill that would make some of the border programs created during the Trump administration permanent. It includes the policy that forces migrants to stay in Mexico while they await the asylum process. It also would pour more resources into security at the southern border, restart border wall construction, and upgrade border technology. House Republicans say they have the necessary votes to pass this legislation, but it is unlikely to pass in the Senate. Remember, you can watch the full big story on our 13 ABC News app. It is available as a free download in your app store.